Hello, it's Cryptos. I hope you are well this Wednesday, 14 February 2024. Today we meet not for St. Valentin's Day, but to talk about Sol Crypto, about Solana, which is still a lot of talk of her precisely in her news. And we are going to cut this video into two parts. Fundamental part, we are going to re-explain what Solana is, its news. We are going to focus a little on Firedancer, just to brief you a little on what is happening, and that there are a lot of things that changes on Solana. We will really have to follow. It is moving really very quickly at the moment. And then we will go to the prices to project price, medium, long-term on purchase prices, sale prices as usual, and we start by recalling what Solana is. So, Solana is a level 1 blockchain which aims to provide developers with functional blocks to build decentralized applications. Well, something classic we are used to, but above all, the principle of Solana is to actually exceed the limits in the sense that we have transaction costs which are very, very low, levels of production and capacity to exit transactions per second which are normally very, very high, in which we are more than 4,000, but theoretically we could go up to 50,000. It remains theoretical, but that is normally what we want to have. And they invented the notion of profit history, which allows you to have only 2 days of transaction to be able to validate whether yes or no it is real, and therefore it allows us to have a volume which does not increase in the size of the blockchain, and which also allows us to simply have very fast transactions, in fact cost block. Next to it, we have a development kit which is relatively complete, where we have absolutely all the different languages to be able to build except Solidity. In any case, this was the case before the arrival of SOLANA, which makes it possible to be EVM compatible. But Solana managed to build itself entirely, even though it was not EVM compatible in a period where globally almost all other blockchains were EVM compatible. And this is the great strength of Solana, is that it managed to really bring together developers on a technology which was not the one that dominated all blockchains, and to really create an ecosystem of very, very strong. And that's why, despite the fall of FTX, which was Solana's main VC, Solana got back up and it's even done very, very well. As a reminder, not long ago, Solana was at 9 and I was one of the rare people to tell you it's a very good price for Solana. Don't worry, it continues to build. I know the ecosystem, I know it's growing, and yes, it is. We see a lot of projects that are being released now. And what means that Solana is now almost in the 120. It has already been in the 120 twice since. And that shows the strength and the resilience of Solana and the ecosystem that revolves around Solana, because that Solana has never stopped developing, whether it is Solana Corp, therefore the corporate part, whether it is the developers, the teams that revolve around it, and the different projects have not stopped. It is an ecosystem which is in full swing, and it is imperative. Follow already because they really specialize in NFTs, in which we have the notion of compression and hypercompression, which make it possible to mint a lot of NFTs at very low cost. So it's really a very big strength, and we're talking a lot at the moment about the EARC-404, which is the fact of having an NFT that is splittable, in which, for example, I own a piece of such an NFT, this person owns a piece of the same NFT, is something that is revolutionary in the world of the EVM, but which has existed for a relatively long time on Solana. So it's to show how far the team is already ahead, and we also talk a lot about mobile. We talked about the first launch of Solana Mobile, where everyone was laughing, where I told you that it was super important and that it was the first step, it wasn't a big deal, and that they were going to do something else. Well, they launched a second one, which will be much more accessible. $450. I think if I'm not stupid, or 400 we were at 60,000 a month ago, we passed the 1 lakh mark of pre-order, so that means that it works, and that there are really people who are on it. The ecosystem is growing. We have Helium, we have HiveMap, which are in the process of migrating finally, which have finished migrating completely. So these are protocols which themselves had their own blockchains, which said, no, we stop. We know that it's too many problems. We go to someone who is capable of ensuring. And who did they go to? They went to Solana, and it's not for nothing. For me, there are really two giants in the capacity to cannibalize projects. We have Matic in EVMs, finally Polygon in EVMs, and we have Solana in the rest, and Solana which continues to develop enormously and which is developing its ecosystem. It's not just Solana itself. We have a lot of development points with a roadmap which is very, very consistent on Solana. But when we look at what revolves around it, and in particular we talk a lot about Firedancer, it's because we has an ecosystem growing alongside it. So during the last video, I purposely didn't talk about it because I wanted to take a little time, also come back to the pre-launch of Firedancer. But you have to understand that Solana is making a lot of noise about it, that it has shutdowns that take place. The blockchain fails. It happens quite regularly. And it happened a short time ago. And I was just saying to myself, it's been a long time. And one of the difficulties with that is that mainly they only have their validation mode. That is, they only have one validation client for the Solana validation nodes. And where Ethereum has several clients, and therefore if we ever have a fault in one of the clients, all of the nodes fall. Whereas when we have a multiplicity of clients, this implies that those who are not impacted can continue to validate. We are in deteriorated mode, but the blockchain does not fall. And that's it. It's starting to happen. It's taking a lot of time. And in particular, we have FireDancer, which launched into net testing in October 2023, which is very important, which allows a lot of modifications I'm going to address in a few moments. But above all, which allows for a form of decentralization in terms of node validation at Solana level, which is very positive. So at the level of FireDancer, what you need to understand is that they will use Solana technology in which they will add additional layers to offer hyperscalability. And we will move on to the theoretical on Solana. Is 50,000 transactions, and there we would go from 250,000 to 1 million transactions per second through Solana, thanks mainly to their management of hypercompression and modularity, which would allow them to be able to precisely dispatch all of the transactions and to be able to precisely structure their validation node, and therefore which is extremely positive for Solana, especially since they are not the only ones working on it. There are still other validators who are working. So we has an ecosystem which is starting to be decentralized in terms of nodes, in terms of software which runs the nodes, something which is extremely important, and ecosystems. So for me, we are really starting to have a very structuring strength of Solana. And it is not for nothing that I have been defending the project for some time now. Besides, from a technical point of view, you will see that there are still a lot of things that are moving, in which, to come back quickly, we have a hyper-expansion phase with an accumulation phase. Hyper-expansion with 5 Elliott waves. We finish the 5 Elliott waves with 3 retracement waves in ABC, and we have the establishment of a distribution that has taken place, and a reaccumulation of Wyckoff in this part, and then we head in the direction of weakness of these reaccumulations, and we have an accumulation phase in this reaccumulation phase. And so in this accumulation phase, we have the lateralization phase, which comes precisely from the end here of November, therefore, of FTX. FTX is over. Big fall. Complexity to be able to come back. But we see that we made a low at 9 and then we restructured the rise with an explosion here, and in particular in this explosion, it was their intervention by Vitaly Buterin, who said that around Solana, there were still brilliant people working. And yes, indeed, that was the case. And we can clearly see after the acceleration with the rupture carried in October. Therefore, the 16th October also carried by BTC, and the huge break in which we went from 21 to a Solana which reached a maximum at 126. And we see that we are in the process of reworking this part. We retraced in the 79, we have retested this block here, and we see that we are starting again. The interest will be to see whether we have a form of distribution with a BC, Arkansas, ST, sign of weakness, or are we really just in a form of retracement, as we can see there, but a little longer, in which we retrace, we make a break here, and we reaccelerate to retrace afterwards subsequently and reaccelerate. In any case, in terms of perspective at Solana's level, we must understand that she is part of the top 5, that she was already in the top 5 during the previous bull run, and that I think we will continue to be in the different tops. If we continue to have an expansion as we can experience, we could consider that we are in a large wave of Elliotists, and therefore we are preparing a large wave of Elliotists to go after the 1618 with a Solana in the surroundings from 400-450. I think we could even go a little higher. Go for the target 2 to come close to $500 in terms of that. So still great prospects for an asset which once again is truly one of the monuments now of crypto, and which survived strong elements, which survived the crash of FTX. Understand well that it lost its VC in the middle of the bear market in which it was dumped. It was FUD. And yet the developers were there, and it is not. Developers who are on another technology in addition, so these are developers who have committed to the ecosystem, and which means that the ecosystem has emerged much more resilient and much stronger. This is why it is an asset to really monitor subsequently and in the next cycles, because I think it will also perform well in the next cycles. I hope you like this video. If so, don't forget to leave me a like and a comment. It always makes me very happy, and we'll see you soon for a new video.